Imagine you stumble upon an old box, just full of documents. It's not some neat archive, it's just a total mess. Inside, you find a glossy page torn from a magazine, a super dense environmental report, a government investigation, and even a little scrap of poetry. At first glance, they seem completely random, right? Like puzzle pieces from totally different boxes. But what if they aren't random? What if they're all part of the exact same story? The story of the invisible systems that shape our entire world. Okay, let's pull out the first document and see what we've got. So first up is this. It's from an interior design magazine, dated November 1955. And it's just filled with this incredible optimism, glamorous designs, ads for a bright modern future. It's all about new materials and endless possibilities. It feels like a promise, like we're all headed for this clean, well-ordered, perfect life. And then, right underneath that glossy page, you find this. Wow. The whole mood just shifts, doesn't it? This is from a 1988 environmental report. It's technical, dense, and honestly, pretty alarming. Look, you don't have to be a chemist to know that a number like 12,580 parts per billion of something called volatile organic compounds, well, that was not part of the bright, clean future that magazine was selling. This is the language of contamination, of a hidden problem festering just beneath the surface. Okay, so we dig a little deeper, and now we've got this document. This one's from the Department of Justice Inspector General. We've just jumped into a completely different world. We're talking national security, high-stakes investigations, the absolute highest levels of government. This is the language of power, of official rules and procedures, a system that's designed to protect us, but one that, as we'll see, can also go spectacularly wrong. And finally, at the bottom of the box, there's this little scrap. It's poetic, and it's intensely personal. It's talking about childhood, secrets, a broken blueprint. This isn't the language of science or law or government. This is the language of the human heart. So let's take stock. We're holding 4 fragments: a promise of a perfect future, a warning about hidden poisons, a look inside a secret government operation, and this deeply personal confession. What story on earth could possibly hold all of this at once? It just seems impossible. A design mag, an environmental report, a DOJ investigation, and a personal poem? But here's the thing. There is a connection. These documents are all part of a larger paper trail, the quiet, bureaucratic script that defines our reality. And to start decoding it, we just need a place to begin. And we find that starting point buried in the environmental documents, a single, simple address: 29 New York Avenue in Westbury, New York. Finally, a tangible piece of ground where all these huge, abstract ideas can actually meet. By focusing on this one spot, we can start to piece this whole puzzle together. All right, let's build this out. The paper trail gives us a clear timeline. It starts back in 1952 when building permits are first issued. Fast forward to 1985, and a company called Tishcon Corporation, a vitamin manufacturer, is running things there. That year, a chemical fire is reported, involving methanol and shellac. Then, by 97, the property changes hands, and in 98, that's when the super detailed investigation into chemical contamination kicks off. A whole property history just built from permits, fire department logs, and lease agreements. And this data, well, it lays the problem out in stark clarity. The investigation found significant contamination in the groundwater. And these numbers, especially that total, over 12,000 parts per billion, they aren't just data points on a chart. They are the legacy of everything that happened on that property. They're the invisible consequence of all that commerce and chemistry, a hidden reality that's finally being documented in this report years after the damage was done. So, moving into our next section, let's see how this all connects. Because this single property, with its whole history of permits and fires and contamination, it doesn't exist in a bubble, right? It's wrapped in this huge invisible web of rules, regulations, and systems that govern absolutely everything, from how we use land to our public health. The paper trail of this one building is actually a window into the architecture of our entire society. I mean, just think about this language here. You've probably seen something like it on a standard government benefits form. This statement, it isn't just words. It's a system. It's a set of rules designed to make sure things are fair, a promise that's been encoded in bureaucratic text. It's part of the same universe as building codes and environmental regulations. It's all an attempt to create order and protect people. And these systems, they have their own language.
You see terms like equal opportunity provider, and it's easy to dismiss them as just jargon, but they're actually legal concepts with real-world power. They represent the framework we've built to manage how we interact with each other and to try and uphold our values. And honestly, understanding this language is the first step to navigating the system itself.
And the paper trail doesn't just lay down the rules, it also gives you a way to take action. These steps, taken right from that same benefits form, show you exactly how a single person can challenge the system when they think it's failed. It's basically a blueprint for engagement, a way to hold this vast impersonal structure accountable. And believe me, these systems touch every single part of our lives. Remember that vitamin manufacturer back at 29 New York Avenue? Well, it was part of a health industry that is itself tracked and shaped by these massive data gathering systems, like the National Health Interview Survey. This survey creates a health profile of the entire nation, and that data influences policy for millions of people. It's just another layer of the paper trail, connecting one small business to the well-being of a whole country. But what happens when these systems, the ones designed to create order and keep us safe, what happens when they just break? The paper trail doesn't just document order and success. It also records failure, error, and all the moments when the rules just weren't enough. I mean, just listen to this quote from the Inspector General's report on the Crossfire hurricane investigation. It's a stunning admission of failure. It shows that even in the most sensitive, high-level operations, the system can be just riddled with what it calls basic and fundamental errors. This isn't a small crack in the foundation. This is a profound failure within the chain of command of one of our most powerful institutions. The paper trail here is a record of a system failing itself. And when a system fails at that level, the consequences aren't just procedural. They are devastatingly human. This number, 12 arrests in a single human trafficking sting, it represents a catastrophic breakdown of every single system that's supposed to protect the most vulnerable among us. Each number is a person, a life that has been shattered because that framework of laws and protections completely failed them. This is the human cost when the paper trail leads to a dead end. And that brings us all the way back to the personal, back to that poetic scrap of paper we found at the very beginning. Because behind every permit, every lab result, every legal report, there is a human life that is being defined or enabled or constrained by that piece of paper. That phrase, a broken blueprint, it's just the perfect metaphor for this whole paper trail, isn't it? A blueprint is a plan, a system, a set of instructions, but when it's broken by contamination, by human error, by cruelty, the result is a life that gets shaped by those failures. The scars and the secrets, they become part of the story, like an unseen footnote to all the official documents that are supposed to define us. So what started as this chaotic box of random documents, it now tells a pretty coherent story. The paper trail is the invisible architecture of our existence. From the glossy promises of a 1950s magazine to the toxic legacy buried in the soil. From the laws that are meant to protect us to the failures that endanger us, it's all connected. It's the script of modern life. And this isn't just a story about some property in New York or a federal investigation. This is a story about all of us, because every single one of us has a paper trail. Seriously, think about it. Your birth certificate, your school transcripts, your medical records, your tax returns, all of your social media data. If someone gathered all that up, what would that collection say about you? What hidden realities would it reveal? What broken blueprints would it expose? And here's the most important question. What parts of that story did you actually get to write for yourself?